Trippie Redd gets beat up in a New York hotel, and he blames you and your crew for it.
Nah, that was us. Rock Trippie's grills out his mouth, like his grills flew 10 feet in the air. You ever seen a Tom and Jerry, like when they spin and Taz, Pierre Boy, like, you know he rap.
He's better as a producer.
Hey, yo, Pierre, come out here and do what?
Trippie Redd said the Gummo beat was supposed to be for him, but you stole it.
Stole that shit. Imagine what Trippie, play the Gummo beat right there. What's Trippie gonna do with that beat? Trippie 14, big slide 459. Ah.
You actually gave 6ix9ine the beat to Gummo, which turned out to be the song that put him on the map. Do you at all feel responsible for his success? Because if you hadn't given him the beat, things maybe wouldn't have popped in that way.
Him. That's my response.
Fair enough. I guess they say sometimes it's a message even if you don't say words.
Him too.
So then October 8th, 2017, the Gummo video comes out. And this was a changing point for everything for you. Now you had the hit songs with Trippie Redd, but this is your first solo song by yourself.
Yeah, remember, I'm not throwing it off because it's my music, it's my work. I spend days working this music. That was SoundCloud songs. Post 1469, it's platinum. That's SoundCloud songs. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But Gummo was something different.
And remember, he dissed me before Gummo.
Yeah.
So before I could even reach a mainstream thing, then who does that? We make music here. Why are you trying to? How else could you name? Be honest. Hold on. You got kids, right?
Yeah.
If somebody did that to your kids, right? Your kids do a school project together. It comes out so good, it's great. And someone out of nowhere just throws dirt on your child. This is, put yourself, how do you explain it? Yo, how do you tell your kids, yo, you maybe did something to him. You maybe did. There's no reason for that. Like, there's really no reason why he did that. Try to damage me before I even blow.
Well, before we get into Gummo, Trippie Redd said the Gummo beat was supposed to be for him, but you stole it.
Stole it. That's what I do. Stole it. And I stole it. Like, bro, but I talk facts. Vlad, I talk facts.
Oh, you're right.
I
don't even deny it. That's cool.
I do talk facts. What deny? What? Give me that. I don't know what to do with that.
Okay.
You know, got a girl, fat. Bro, you don't know what to do with that. Give me that. That's what I did to that little nigga. Give me that. You don't know what to do with that. Imagine what Trippie, play the Gummo beat right there real quick. There was this video of Trippie Redd back in 2017.
One minute, they were side by side in a studio chasing a hit. The next, one was testifying in federal court, and the other was watching from a distance. When 6ix9ine recently surrendered himself to federal custody at MDC Brooklyn, the internet treated it like another episode in a long-running show. He even live-streamed the moment with Aiden Ross, music playing, cameras rolling, jokes flying. It looked theatrical, almost staged, but then something happened. Trippie Redd reposted the footage. No long rant, no dramatic speech, just a caption that said he doesn't support bullies. That's when people paused, because this wasn't random trolling. This was history resurfacing. Nearly a decade of tension compressed into one quiet post. If you followed their story from the SoundCloud days, you already know this isn't just rap beef. This is collaboration turned betrayal. Studio sessions turned street incidents, diss tracks turned federal testimony. And now, one of them is sitting in a cell serving time for supervised release violations tied to a racketeering case. The other is still touring, still free, still watching. It's almost cinematic. But this didn't begin in a courtroom. It didn't even begin with insults. It started with excitement, with ambition, with two young artists building something together in 2017 that looked unstoppable. And that's what makes this twist hit harder. Because when collaborators turn into enemies, it's never just business, it's personal. And to understand why that jail footage meant so much, We have to go back to the moment they first linked up, before everything collapsed, before the courtrooms, before the headlines. But before the word snitch became permanent, there was just momentum. Back in 2017, the SoundCloud era was exploding. Face tattoos, colored hair, raw energy. Two names rising fast were Trippie Redd and 6ix9ine. They weren't enemies, they were collaborators. The record that connected them was Polls 1469. It felt chaotic in the best way. Aggressive hooks, emotional vocals, that distorted SoundCloud sound that defined a generation. The track took off quickly and introduced both artists to a wider audience. At the time, the chemistry looked real. Interviews showed mutual respect. They were even signed under the same label umbrella. Industry insiders thought this was the beginning of a long partnership. Two rising stars from the same wave, amplifying each other's buzz. But here's where it gets interesting. Success changes dynamics fast. Because 6ix9ine's energy started going viral, especially with the release of Gummo, attention shifted. Streams climbed, headlines followed. Suddenly, label priorities began tilting. Who was the main focus? Who got the bigger push? Who became the face of the movement? That kind of shift creates quiet tension. When two artists rise together, there's harmony. When one starts accelerating faster, competition sneaks in, even if nobody says it out loud. And according to later interviews, jealousy became part of the conversation. 6ix9ine claimed Trippie turned on him once the spotlight moved. Trippie suggested betrayal was already brewing. Whatever the truth is, one thing is clear: the friendship cracked quickly. And what started as creative collaboration was about to transform into something far darker than anyone expected. Or the breakup wasn't quiet. It exploded. Out of nowhere, Trippie Redd went public and called 6ix9ine a pedo, referencing his 2015 case involving a minor. That wasn't a light insult. That was a career-defining accusation. And it spread fast. Screenshots, tweets, fan pages reposting it. Overnight, the narrative shifted from collaboration to condemnation. Trippie drew a clear line. He didn't want his name tied to 6ix9ine anymore. But 6ix9ine didn't stay silent. He fired back immediately, accusing Trippie of jealousy. He claimed that once Gummo blew up and label resources shifted his way, Trippie couldn't handle it. In interviews, he painted the picture like this: they were cool until he started winning bigger. Then the situation got even messier. 6ix9ine later admitted that the beat for Gummo originally came through Trippie's circle. Whether it was stolen, borrowed, or repurposed depends on who you ask. But the perception, it looked like betrayal. So now the tension wasn't just personal, it was professional. One felt publicly exposed, the other felt sabotaged. And once serious allegations enter a beef, there's no going back to friendly competition. The internet picks sides instantly. Fans amplify everything. Every move becomes proof of guilt or innocence depending on who's watching. What makes this part wild is how fast it escalated. They went from label mates to enemies in months. And while the internet thought this was just messy social media drama, it was about to leave the timeline and enter real life. Because what happened next didn't happen on Instagram. It happened in a hotel lobby. This is where the beef stopped being tweets and became charges. In late 2017, 6ix9ine had aligned himself with the 9 Trey gangster bloods. His image was built on aggression, loud visuals, street energy, no backing down. So when he found out Trippie Redd was in New York shooting a video, things escalated fast. According to court testimony later given by 6ix9ine himself, he ordered his associates to confront Trippie at a hotel. And he didn't deny it. He admitted it under oath during his federal racketeering case. That detail changes everything, because now this wasn't rap beef, it was federal evidence. The confrontation reportedly happened in a hotel lobby. Accounts vary. 6ix9ine later described Trippie getting hit and his grills flying out. Trippie went live afterward, downplaying it, saying he got hit once and his crew handled the rest. Two different versions, but one undeniable fact: 6ix9ine pleaded guilty to his role in the assault as part of his larger federal case. Think about that. A rap rivalry ended up documented in a courtroom transcript. And once violence enters the story, reputations shift. Industry relationships change, and the stakes get heavier, because now there's paperwork. The moment that might have been just another hip-hop altercation became tied to racketeering charges. That one decision followed 6ix9ine all the way into federal court, and what happened in that courtroom would permanently redefine his image. Because the next chapter didn't just involve violence, it involved cooperation. The courtroom is where everything changed. In November 2018, 6ix9ine was arrested on federal racketeering charges tied to the 9 Trey gangster bloods. The indictment included conspiracy, up firearms offenses, and violent crimes. If convicted at trial, he was reportedly facing decades, possibly life. For someone who built his brand on fearlessness, this was the ultimate test, and he made a choice. Instead of fighting the case, 6ix9ine cooperated with federal prosecutors. In September 2019, he took the stand and testified against former associates. He identified members, explained operations, described crimes in detail. He even admitted to ordering the attack on Trippie Redd. That moment sealed his reputation. In street culture, cooperation with federal authorities carries a label that never disappears. No matter how big the hit single, no matter how many streams. Once that courtroom testimony happened, the conversation around 6ix9ine shifted permanently. Legally, the strategy worked. Instead of life, he received 24 months in prison, 5 years of supervised release, and a fine. He was released early in 2020 due to COVID-related concerns, but freedom came with conditions: strict supervision, drug testing, travel restrictions, mandatory compliance. And this is where things get interesting. Because while the courtroom saved him from decades behind bars, it also attached him to a system that required discipline. And discipline is something his story keeps struggling with. The flip didn't just change his case, it changed how the industry saw him. And the fallout from that label would follow him long after the trial ended. When 6ix9ine walked out of federal custody in 2020, it looked like a reset. He returned to social media immediately, broke Instagram Live records with over 2 million viewers at once, dropped music, trolled old enemies. From a distance, it felt like he had survived the storm. But surviving isn't the same as changing. As part of his sentence, 6ix9ine was placed on 5 years of supervised release. That meant strict conditions, no drugs, limited travel, regular check-ins with probation officers, and zero tolerance for violations. And almost immediately, cracks started showing. In 2023 and 2024, reports surfaced of arrests in the Dominican Republic tied to altercations. There were allegations of failing to follow court-ordered restrictions. Drug tests reportedly came back positive. Travel occurred without proper approval. Each violation added weight. Judges don't usually like giving second chances after federal cooperation. Courts had already shown leniency by reducing what could have been a life sentence. So when supervision conditions were ignored, patience started wearing thin. By late 2025, the violations stacked up enough to trigger a new sentence: 90 days in federal custody. That brings us to January 6, 2026. He didn't sneak into custody quietly. He live-streamed the surrender, played locked up in the background, smiled for cameras, treated it like content. But behind the theatrics, the reality was serious. This wasn't about a new indictment. This was about not respecting the opportunity he had already been given. And for someone who once escaped decades behind bars, 3 months might not sound like much, but symbolically, it says a lot. When the footage of 6ix9ine surrendering hit social media, most people treated it like another episode in his never-ending reality show. But then Trippie Redd pressed play. And that's when it felt different. Trippie didn't drop a full diss track. He didn't go on a long rant. Instead, he shared the clip in a way that felt calculated, cold, almost casual. No long explanation, just letting the moment speak for itself. For someone who had been attacked on orders allegedly coming from 6ix9ine, for someone whose name had been dragged into court testimony, for someone who watched his former collaborator flip federal witness. Seeing that same person walk back into prison had weight. The internet split into two sides fast. One side said Trippie was petty, that reposting jail footage is corny, that both artists should have moved on years ago. The other side said this wasn't trolling, it was karma. Because think about it, this beef didn't start over a random tweet. It escalated into a real-life hotel attack. It became federal testimony. It affected careers and reputations. For Trippie, this wasn't just online drama, it was personal. What made his reaction even louder was how quiet it was. No screaming, no threats, just letting the visual hit. A former collaborator, now behind bars again. And maybe that's what made it powerful. Not revenge, not celebration, just a reminder of how far things fell. from making music together to watching each other through court documents and prison walls. As soon as Trippie Redd reposted that clip of 6ix9ine heading back into federal custody, the timelines exploded, and the reactions were split right down the middle. One side called it karma. They pointed to the hotel attack, the courtroom testimony, the way 6ix9ine built his brand off chaos and humiliation. In their eyes, watching him surrender again wasn't sad. It was inevitable. A full circle moment. But the other side saw something else. They saw two grown men still tied to a beef that started almost a decade ago. They questioned why Trippie would even give it attention. Some argued that reposting jail footage just keeps the cycle alive, that it feeds the same energy that created the problem in the first place. And then there was a third perspective: clout. Because in today's era, everything is content. Court cases become headlines. Arrests become live streams. Jail surrenders turn into trending topics within minutes. Millions of views, thousands of comments, algorithms going crazy. 6ix9ine knows that. He literally streamed his own surrender. So when Trippie shared the clip, people wondered, was it payback or was it just smart engagement? That's what makes this situation layered. On one level, it's personal history. On another level, it's internet strategy. Drama sells, conflict trends, and both artists understand that better than most. But beyond the clicks and commentary, there's a deeper takeaway. This isn't just about two rappers beefing. It's about how public conflict never really dies in the digital age. It just waits for the next moment to resurface. And in this case, prison walls became the backdrop for another chapter. Almost 10 years ago, Trippie Redd and 6ix9ine were two hungry artists recording in small studios, trying to turn SoundCloud buzz into real careers. Back then, nobody could have predicted that their names would one day be linked not just through music, but through court transcripts, federal testimony, and prison surrender footage. And yet here we are. 6ix9ine sits in federal custody again, on serving time after repeatedly violating supervised release. Trippie Redd is still active in the industry, touring, dropping projects, and building his own lane. Their paths couldn't look more different. But the tension, it never really disappeared. There was never a sit-down, never a public truce, no handshake moment, just silence, occasional shots, and now this viral jail clip adding fuel to a fire that technically started in 2017. The strange part is how the internet refuses to let it fade. Every new arrest, every interview mention, every live stream comment. It all drags the story back to the surface. In the digital era, nothing dies. It just waits for another headline. And maybe that's the real ending here. Not some dramatic reconciliation, not another explosive confrontation. Just two careers shaped forever by choices made young. Life fast and under pressure. One chose cooperation in a courtroom, the other chose distance and ridicule. Both choices came with consequences. The bigger question isn't who won the beef. It's whether either of them ever truly moved past it. Because sometimes the most lasting damage isn't the punch in a hotel lobby or the testimony in court. It's the fact that years later, the story still defines the narrative.